Hey, this is Bert Salazar. I hope that all of you are doing well. First and foremost, I want to apologize because I had oral surgery last week, so I have a little plate on the top of my mouth, so I'm learning how to speak all over again. So if I blubber all over myself, don't worry about it. But I wanted to spend a few minutes with you regarding an interesting topic that I want to bring to the forefront today. My wife and I had dinner with a very good friend. He's been a friend of mine or a friend of ours for almost 30 years. He was in financial services for many years, but he retired several years ago. And we're having dinner and having a few drinks, and we're talking about, life and expectations and goals, objectives, and, the twilight of his life and so forth. And he was telling me a story about how it is that he looks at life and that he looks at it as a rope. And the question is, how much of a rope do you have left? So that kind of gave me an idea. So I went ahead and I'm creating this video for you, and it's called "How Much of the Rope of Life Do You Have Left?" So I'll tell you a little bit about him, and then I'll give you a little bit of feedback as to how it is that I interpret the way that he lives life and so forth. But he's a very good friend of mine. His name is Ricardo, and and he actually looks at his life through a rope, and I'm not kidding about that. And he's in his mid 70s. He's in really good shape. He walks 4 to 5 miles every single day. Goes to the gym 3, 4 times a week. So he's always been very, very active. He's now living in Tenerife, Spain, and soon he will be moving. Before the end of this year, he's going to be moving to Malaga, Spain, because Tenerife, for you to get to the mainland, it takes a 3 hour flight to get there. So, you get island fever. He's been there over a year already, and he wanted to move a little bit closer inland. So he's going to be moving to Malaga, which is in the Costa del Sol, which is right by the water, a gorgeous place that we're going to be visiting now in the winter. And we're looking forward to that very, very much. He's got a great sense of humor and he's full of life. But one of the things that he's always had is, he looks at life from a reality standpoint. And he was telling me, he says, Bert, when I first started, my rope was very, very long. My rope of life was incredibly, incredibly long. I never thought I was going to die, especially when I was in my 20s and my 30s. But nowadays, I am in my mid 70s. So now my rope is about this short. So I don't have that long to go as far as my life is concerned. So we started to talk about that. So if you think about the meaning of the rope is how much time actually you have left in your life. So I went ahead and jotted down some of the notes. Um, and one of the things he said is, when you're young, the rope is long and it's never going to end. As you get older, obviously, you start to see the light at the end of the tunnel, so your rope is going to get a lot smaller. And you want to try to get as much done as you possibly can before you get called out. And obviously, you got to leave this world because everybody will, okay, at some point in time in the future. Um, in his personal view, his personal rope is running out of knots. I remember when I first went into the Marine Corps, I went to boot camp, and they had, when you had to climb the rope. There were some ropes that had knots, so you can put your feet, made it a lot easier to get to the top of the wall. But other ropes had no knots whatsoever, so it made it a little bit more difficult. So you would start with the ropes that had the knots, and then you would graduate little by little. So by the time you finished boot camp 90 days later, all of us were able to go up and down the rope several times, no knots, and we were on top of the world as far as being in physical conditioning and shape and so forth. So that's something that he looks at his life from that perspective as well. As I told you, he moved to Tenerife. He's always been a traveler, so he travels all throughout the world. He got a divorce many years ago and then met someone very nice. and they've been together for 10 years. So they travel all throughout Europe, a week, 2 weeks at a time. And, he's really enjoying life from that perspective. He drinks a lot of wine and eats really good food. So, he tells me, Bert, we go out to dinner just about every night. So I'm drinking a bottle of wine with my significant other every single night, and we love it. We love red wine, and Spain wine is very good. Spanish wine is very good. So we enjoyed that quite a bit. And the question that I had for him, and is more of a rhetorical question than anything else. Obviously he's in his mid-70s, in good shape, but how much of a rope does he have left? Is it 5 years? Is it 10 years? Is it 15 years? Is it 20 years? Notice that I didn't say 50, 60, or 70 years. I said 5, 10, 15, or 20. So obviously, the older you get, the less time you have on the rope, and the less of a rope you're going to have in life. So those are things that are important to note. Now, he does have some investments. He's got Social Security, and then he created self-created pensions via annuities many years ago. So he's now getting those pensions on an annual basis, and he's able to live very comfortably in Spain with all of the income that he gets on a monthly basis. So, he's truly enjoying life. So my question to you is, what are you doing with your rope? And believe me, I have over 200 clients, and I deal with many of my clients on a quarterly basis because I do spend a lot of time doing reviews and so forth. So my question for all of you, and I jotted some of those things that I want to bring to the forefront so you can start thinking outside of the box from that perspective. But, what are you doing with your rope? And I don't care if you have 30 years of rope left, or 20 years, or 5 years, or 40 years of rope left. What are you doing with your rope from a business and personal perspective? Now, are you in the go-go years of your life, but wasting it away like if you were living in the no-go years and the slow-go years? I can tell you that my friend Ricardo, statistically speaking, should be in his slow-go years from 75 to 85. Ricardo is far from being in his slow-go years. He's been on the go-go years ever since I met him 30 years ago. And the way I think about him, he's going to go from go-go years to death. There's not going to be anything in between. Now, what I do see with a lot of my clients is that they go through the go-go years, the slow-go years, and then the no-go years. Sadly enough, I have clients of mine that should be in the go-go years today, and mentally they're already in the slow-go years or the no-go years. They're just sitting around waiting to die. And that's really sad because, the memories that you take with you are the only things that you're going to take with you, because I've never met and I've never seen a casket with pockets. So you can't take your money with you. And the only thing you can take are the memories that you're going to enjoy. So these are things that are very important that all of you need to start thinking about as you're getting closer and closer to retirement. And what do you want that retirement to look like? Because it's going to be very, very important to you. How much of your life are you truly enjoying? Are you truly maximizing the time that you have available and the time that you have left on earth? What are you doing with your family? What are the places that you're visiting? What are the things that you're looking forward to do if you're not at retirement yet, but you're very close to it? And are you planning for that? Most Americans are not planning for that at all. Another question is, what are your current fears? All of us have fears, but some of us let our fears take over our lives. So do you fear taxes in the future on your retirement assets? Do you fear inflation? Do you fear stock market volatility at a point in time where now you go from people at work to money at work, and now your money has to produce assets for you pretty much on a guaranteed basis because you need to maintain your standard of living. Are you afraid of your propensity to consume? Are you overspending? Are all of your financial decisions and all of the financial decisions, not only that you're making today, but that you will be making in the near future, are they based on fear? Because if they're based on fear, you're really not living life to the fullest, and you're always going to be questioning yourself every time you have to make a financial decision. So it's important to start giving those pointers and those points some thought, because you only have one life to live. Are you concerned about running out of money before you run out of life? And that's probably the biggest concern, because a vast majority of you don't have a guaranteed pension. Not that you couldn't create one, but you really haven't given it any thought as to creating a pension like my friend Ricardo. You know, he never worked for a company that provided a pension, so he created one for himself. He started to buy annuities years ago. So he now has a set of annuities that are giving him a guaranteed income for life. On top of that, he's got Social Security benefits. And on top of that, he's got life insurance, cash value, 7702 plans. He's got a lot of money in a very, very good, strong whole life policy that he has probably funded for 30 some odd years. On top of that, he's got investments, but he's not dependent on those investments. So for him, those investments are more like play money and opportunities type of money. So he's able to see and do things with them. So, he was telling me that a few months ago when Amazon was at 1,800, he went ahead and bought a bunch of shares. Now today, Amazon is at 2,500 in a matter of less than a year. So he's able to maximize internal rate of return of that, because he's got so much guaranteed income that it gives you more, it gives him more freedom, more liberty, more susceptibility to do with his investments whatever it is that he wants to do. He could even take a little bit more risk on his investments because of all the guarantees that he already has. Now, the one thing that he tells me, Bert, I listen to a lot and watch a lot of your videos, is that I wish that a lot of that income would be on a tax-free basis. So perhaps I should have listened to you years ago. But he's kind of stubborn, and he does things his way, but he's done it the right way in many different ways. So is that part of the fears that you have, running out of money before you run out of life? Because I can tell you, my friend Ricardo is never going to become a Walmart greeter, because he did his due diligence to make sure that that would never happen in his life. So how much of your retirement income will be tax-free? Or how much of the retirement income that you're generating today or will be generating tomorrow is tax-free? And what can you do if you have time on your side of the ledger to create guaranteed income? There are a lot of things that you can do to create guaranteed income. Because if you have tax-free and guaranteed income in retirement, your life is going to look totally different than if you don't have guaranteed income and you obviously don't have tax-free income in retirement, because we all know that taxes are going to be a lot higher in the future than they are today. And the future is not too far. The future is January 1 of 2026, when the old law comes back in and takes over. But depending who's going to be in power, whether it's a Republican or a Democrat, taxes are going to have to go up regardless, because we got to pay for the mess that we're in today, because otherwise our country's going to go financially bankrupt. And then obviously we're no good to anyone at that point in time. So many of you, how much of your income is guaranteed, and what have you done to create a guaranteed income in life so you don't have to worry about running out of money before you run out of life? You want to make certain that when the lights go off on your life and you reach the end of your rope, that the income is there as well. Because otherwise you're going to be accelerating the disarmament and the dissipation of that rope in front of you, because you're going to want to die, because all of a sudden you ran out of income, your life is nowhere near what you intended it to be, and most important, you're going to be living a very sad life. And who wants to live a sad life in retirement? None of us want to. Always remember that the road to hell is paved with a lot of good intentions. So we all try to do the very best, but we always do things that are totally the opposite of what we intend to do, because we're not doing any type of tax planning, we're not doing any type of retirement distribution planning, and we're not doing any type of tactical retirement blueprint, which is something that I specialize in doing with all of my clients along those lines. Another thing is, are you stuck in the past? Is the home that you're living in right now too expensive for you? Now, I hear this often. Bert, I've been in my home 30 years. I love my home. Yeah, that's fine. But you know what? Don't love anything that don't love you back, because your home is never going to love you. So what happens if your home is costing you a lot of money? Doesn't it make sense for you to sell that piece of property and downsize? You know, get to a point in your life where you can probably live off of a suitcase. If you can live your life off of a suitcase, then you have actually done what I tell a lot of my clients to do, is get rid of all the clutter in your life and simplify to multiply. You want to simplify your life, both your business and your personal life, in order to multiply the enjoyment of that life with your family for the rest of your life. Those are things that are very, very critical to understand. The challenge with many of you when I meet with you for the first time is that you're in a bubble, and it's very hard for you to get out of the bubble in order to make the right decision. So usually the first conversation that I have with my clients is, look, do you look at your financial decisions in your life through a microscope, or do you look at them through a telescope? Because when you start looking at your financial and your personal life, and also the years that you have left in that rope through a telescope, the view is totally going to change. Your excitement about life is going to get a lot greater, and you're going to be able to enjoy life because you're going to unclutter yourself, and you're going to simplify to multiply whatever numbers of years you have left, whether we're talking about 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 years of your life. I'm almost in my mid-60s. Ricardo's in his mid-70s. So obviously, statistically speaking, he's got less of a rope to go than I do. But tomorrow's promised to no one. Something or someone may just cut the rope when you least expect it, and all of a sudden, your life is over. So I wanted to take a few minutes of your time today to kind of share this, because a lot of the planning that I do with my clients is not only financially, but also psychologically. And many a times, I have to help my clients make a paradigm shift in the way that they think about themselves, their families, their financial life, their business life, their personal life. Because if I get to make a congruent unison between your psychological and your sentimental life and your personal and financial life, then everything congruently is going to work a lot better together, and you're going to be able to simplify to multiply. If you want to create a tactical retirement blueprint, and I encourage all of you to do so, please feel free to reach out to me. You can call me at area code 786-766-1042. You can also reach out to me at Bert, B-E-R-T, at bertsalazar.com, BERTSALAZAR.com. And I would love to kind of visit with you, host a video conference at no cost or obligation and get to answer any financial questions that you may have, or any questions about, Bert, does it make sense that I move out of this country and go somewhere else? I have a lot of clients all throughout the world that are now in retirement and living very, very comfortably and truly enjoying life. Always remember, as I say in every one of my videos or podcasts, that my goal for each and every one of you, each and every one of you that is not only my personal client and my business client, but also my friend and part of my online community is to kind of help you change the way that you see things. Because when you change the way that you see things, the things that you see change. So once again, thanks very much for giving me a few minutes of your time, and I'll talk to you soon. Thank you. Take care and have a great day. Bye-bye.